14:15 on July 9 in Bau Binh village, Binh Duong commune, Thang Binh district, Quang Nam province. In the middle of the day, the perpetrator broke into the victim's house, robbed the property and killed the owner. When he was discovered, has caused anger and discontent in the public opinion of the people and disturbed local security and order. The police force has entered the hunt for the culprit so that he has to pay the price. What marks have made the killer appear? What causes a student to ruthlessly murder his teacher in such a brutal way? On the afternoon of July 9 in Bau Binh village, Binh Duong commune, Thang Binh district, province Quang Nam. People are busy returning home. The alley is deserted, only the sound of a few children running and playing. Ms. Hang, a housewife, is also walking to the alley to buy things to prepare for family meals. Today, when she went to the gate, she walked out with her left foot and immediately met Mr. Phuc, who was drunk, holding a knife, walking in the alley. When he passed by, he raised his hand and hit the small woman's hat. Fortunately, Phuc staggered and walked away. Hang picked up her hat and met a motorbike running very fast. Driving the motorbike was a young man with a slim figure. When passing by Mr. Nguyen Nhat Thong's house, the principal of Hoang Dieu Middle School, Binh Hai commune, Thang Binh district, Quang Nam province, she heard the echo as if someone was calling for help. Curiously, Hang stopped in front of the door. The door was still closed. Usually at this hour, Mr. Thong often sits in front of the door waiting for his children and grandchildren to come home to eat. But calling and still no one answered. Peeked through the window, the TV was still on in the house, the fan was still running. She opened the door and entered the yard. The incident happened so surprising to the people of Bau Binh village because at noon everyone still saw the teacher going out to buy food, but unexpectedly, just a few hours later, Mr. Thong was killed, causing the family to die. And the village is in great pain. Master's death made the people of Bau Binh village bewildered and disgruntled. They talked about his death, who was a gentleman who had no conflicts with anyone nor owed money. Money because the teacher was always worried about teaching. I don't know why he was killed in such a brutal way. Information about the death of the principal was reported to the local authorities and the provincial police. Upon receiving the news that the provincial police quickly deployed forces to protect the scene, the provincial police investigation department coordinated with the criminal technical department immediately went down to the scene to examine and collect evidence. Provincial police quickly approached the crime scene security department to coordinate with functional forces to conduct scene examination, autopsies, and collect information to serve the investigation of the case. Judgment. According to the initial information of the authorities, the autopsy showed that the victim died from many wounds on the body, leading to acute hemorrhagic shock. Stabbed many times, at the scene discovered a green-handled knife that could be the murder weapon. After the investigation at the scene was completed, the investigating agency confirmed that this was a particularly serious case of murder, robbery, and the subject's behavior showed a high degree of aggression and determination to deprive the victim's life to the end. Determining the seriousness of the case, the provincial police leader directed the professional forces to determine the culprit as soon as possible to stabilize the security and order situation in the locality. The police investigation force quickly mobilized the maximum force, collected traces to deploy the options of detecting clues and perpetrators. Criminal Police Department. The provincial police have entered into the investigation to investigate the relationships of the victims, including the dangerous subjects with many criminal records in the area. The Public Security Agency has widely announced to ask the people to denounce the crime. Providing security camera data from 1300 hours to 1500 hours along the Chi Cong 2 route, direction from Hoi An City to Tam Ky City and vice versa. Investigating agencies set up many working groups. Directed to multiple points of investigation began to explore the relationships of the victim and family. It shows that Mr. Thong is a gentleman who does not contradict his relatives in the Lac neighborhood. In Hoang Dieu Middle School, he also does not contradict or quarrel with anyone. The teacher's family life is relatively complete. Is it possible that the perpetrator broke in just to rob the family's property, focusing on the subject of murder to rob the property? Why does the perpetrator know the right choice? When the whole family was away, only Mr. Thong was at home to take action. Is the murderer an acquaintance or knows very well the rules of life of Mr. Thong's family? On the basis of the scene, the collected traces and initial information such as the door locks, the door of the victim's house are still intact, with no signs of being tampered with. The perpetrator can enter the house by sneaking through the main door to steal, when the master discovers that he has killed the victim, according to the initial assessment of the investigators, from information provided by the public. Together with criminal detectives, it is likely that the subject must be a person familiar with the area where the victim lives, so those with dangerous criminal records, young people playing around in the area, and the surrounding areas are thoroughly checked by the investigative agency right from the beginning. Many working groups jointly conduct investigations of drug addicts who have just been released from prison, suspected subjects from foreign provinces to do business locally. The investigation from all directions is carried out urgently and closely. It is difficult for investigative agencies because the scene is disturbed after the victim's family finds out, so the traces of the perpetrator have not been found at the scene. Investigations from the public also did not have any witnesses to detect unusual events before the crime occurred. The killer is not only too brutal, but also very cunning, leaving no traces, even fingerprints on the evidence at the scene. Many theories are raised as a challenge to the detectives in the hunt for the crime. At the Criminal Police Department of the Provincial Police, information from various directions of investigation was continuously brought back. The phone constantly rang to receive new information. Although it had been carefully reviewed, it seemed like the killer was able to run far away. The case had at times come to an impasse, but with great determination, the officers and soldiers of the Criminal Police Department of the Provincial Police did not mind the difficulties and hard work. Day and night to follow even the smallest information. The case is at a dead end. By professional measures, the scouts have found a witness to provide important information. Ms. T's neighbor of the victim said that on the day of the incident, when she went to the alley to buy food, she met a young man in a drunken state holding a knife and passing through the gate of Mr. Thong's house, carefully verifying the person the witness mentioned. That Mr. D had a criminal record in the area. Immediately the scouts approached D. However, through the investigation, Mr. D was not only not the killer but also provided a very important information. On the day Mr. Thong was killed, he passed by the victim's house and saw a young man with a slim figure. A slim person riding a motorbike, wearing a jacket and hat, ran out of Mr. Thong's house in a panic. However, at that time, partly because it was in broad daylight, partly because the witness was in a drunken state, so he didn't pay attention, didn't think he was a robber. At this time a resident picked up a phone, suspected that the victim's phone was provided to the scouts. This important information helped the investigating agency. By professional measures, the suspect had been identified on the phone. Dialogue has the same appearance as the witness described. That subject is Nguyen Chung Bao Du, a 15-year-old boy from Tien Son Commune, Tien Phuc District. In 2019, the household registration was moved to Ha Nam Town, Thang Binh District. The scouts were immediately present at Du's house to conduct an investigation. The shirt in Du's yard was also identified by witnesses as the same as the one the killer's shirt that day. From this evidence the scouts summoned Du to work, but at the police station the subject was very calm and presented extremely rationally about the use of time. Time at the time of the murder, such as what time do you go out of the house, need someone to do as an alibi. Through the initial testimonies, there was nothing special, so at the first interrogation, the investigating agency did not receive important evidence. An urgent meeting took place to investigate and verify more deeply about Du. The Special Case Committee has sent teams of scouts and investigators to monitor the young man's activities, on the one hand to expand the investigation and relationship activities of this subject, and on the other hand to verify the alibi, which Du once testified before the investigating agency. Through the investigation, it was found that Du was the subject of many suspicious expressions, although he had just finished grade 9 at a junior high school in Ha Town, Nam Thang Binh District, Quang Nam Province, but Du is only passionate about electronics. Due to debt because he borrowed money to play games. Du had the intention of stealing money to serve his passion. After consolidating more documents and evidence, the investigation agency determined that Nguyen Chung Bao Du was the #1 suspect in the robbery of the daring murder at the Duyen's police office. Showed that he did not understand why he was arrested because he had prepared in advance the testimony of his fake foreign evidence, so when faced with the investigating officer, Du was stubborn and refused to admit the crime. With a non-cooperative look. However, in the face of the tough and long experience of the police agency in interrogating stubborn criminals, in the face of irrefutable evidence, his so-called alibi was exposed. In the end, Nguyen Chung Bao Du had to bow his head to confess according to the indictment of Du in Ha Nam town, Thang Binh district due to football betting, so he owed a lot of money. On July 9, 9th grade male student woke up early to hide a knife in a bag, roaming on a motorbike to find a way to break into people's houses to steal property. Du has not been able to carry out his plan since morning. Then the 15-year-old boy went to Bau Binh village, Binh Duong commune, 10 kilometers away from his house, and saw a house with no one in it. This is the residence of Mr. Nguyen Nhat Thong, the principal of Hoang Dieu Middle School, Binh Hai commune. The subject looked around and then snuck into Mr. Thong's house to steal. Du went upstairs but couldn't open the cabinet, so he turned around. Down to the living room. At this time, Mr. Thong was in the room. Going out, Du fought back and stabbed the owner in the hip. While struggling, Du stabbed 13 times in a row, causing Mr. Thong to die. When he saw the victim lying still, Du went downstairs to wash his feet with blood. When he returned to the scene, Du went up to see Mr. Thong shouting, so he stabbed many more times, causing the victim to die. Discovered the phone in the middle of the floor. Du took it and ran out. After committing the crime, Du left the knife and then got on a motorbike to escape. On the way home, Du saw a phone call he had just robbed, was afraid of being discovered, so he threw it away. The next morning, Du asked his father to drive him to his grandfather's house in Tien Son Commune, Tien Phuc district. On July 19, Du was arrested by the police at the trial. The trial panel said that Du's behavior was particularly serious. The People's Court of Quang Nam Province sentenced defendant Nguyen Chung Bao Du 12 years for murder and 4 years in prison for robbery. The boy was under 16 years old at the time of the crime, so the total penalty for the two crimes was 12 years in prison. In addition, the court also asked to be arrested. Reporter and family compensated the victim's family more than 227 million dong. I don't know now, when I have spent the days of penance for Nguyen Chung Bao Du prison, I think about what I have done, the pain I have caused for the victim's family, and above all, the pain and humiliation that he caused to his own loved ones. It can be said that the murders and robberies happened in the recent past where the perpetrator was a young child. Teenagers have shocked public opinion about the level of audacity. The above heartbreaking cases are also a warning bell to school parents and the whole society about the concern about education. Young, with the spirit of fighting crime to the end without any clues, even the smallest. Within a short time, police officers and soldiers managed to catch the subject of murder and robbery. The wicked come to the light, force him to atone for his crimes before the law, return justice to the victims, stabilize the local security and order situation.